next thing we're going to talk about is PTO. Now this is certainly something that many trucks do not have in them. Our type of trucks, for our type of trucking, dump trucks, side dumps, yeah, they'll have PTOs. Any truck really that has ancillary equipment mounted on it, all your tow trucks will have it. A lot of bucket trucks for power companies will have it. But your over-the-road trucks going down the road, many of those won't actually have it in there. PTO stands for power takeoff. And what it does, it takes power via the transmission from the truck itself, from the engine, and distributes that power to other equipment other than making the truck go forward or in reverse. Okay, it's running other equipment. In this instance, it's going to be running to roll over that side dump. There's a dump truck right. There's a dump truck right there. It's going to be used to move that box up and down. Again, for bucket trucks, things like that, anything that's got ancillary equipment, there's 10,000 uses for a power takeoff. The PTO is tied directly into the transmission. In most cases, it's like a little gearbox that's mounted onto the side of it. You just open it, don't open a door, but you take off a steel plate and you can mount a gearbox that marries into the gears of the transmission, and that's where your power comes from, okay? So if you damage your PTO by doing something wrong or getting too far ahead of yourself and rushing it, you've also damaged your transmission, because they are one and the same. They are married to each other. So if you damage your PTO, you just damage your transmission, which leads to certainly bigger problems, okay? In most instances, there's a lever or a switch now on a lot of the modern stuff in the cab. That's how you turn on the PTO, okay? First thing to do, it's exactly like we were talking about with our diffs. Stop, let everything settle down. You can't have you can't have movement inside the transmission because you're about to enter a new gear into it, okay? 2, clutch in, okay? If it's not an automatic, you're gonna have to put the clutch in and then hit the lever or the switch. Again, all trucks, makes and models are a little bit different, so consult your owner's manual on exactly what it is, or talk to your trainer about exactly the series of switches that you need to hit. In all of these instances, whether we're talking about diffs, power dividers, PTOs, if you hear grinding, you need to stop right now, because grinding in this industry is never a good thing to hear, okay? So you stop, you let everything settle down, clutch goes in, you got your PTO on. Now you can start to operate the ancillary equipment. Now you can start to roll the barrel over to dump. You can start to dump truck back there. You can start to raise the box to dump the dump truck. Whatever you need to do, now's the time. You can move the truck with the PTO on, but you want to do that slowly. For a lot of our dump trucks or truck and pups, when they're dumping gravel or something like that, we like to spread it over roadways and things like that. That requires the PTO to be in operation while the truck is moving forward as well. It can be done, but you can't do it for very long, and you can't do it at anything approaching road speeds. That'll just shred things on the inside. That's where you hear your grinding and things like that, okay? So once you're done using it, once you've, in this instance, you dumped your load, you brought the barrel back, turn it off right away. The minute you don't need it, turn it off, or otherwise you're gonna have significant damage, and do it right away, the minute. Don't get out and think you're gonna do it later. It's a flip of a switch, so it's a pretty easy thing to forget to do. And then you'll start going throughout your day. In a lot of trucks, there are not warnings that your PTO is still on, so you can go at road speed with that PTO on. All the while, you're starting to do some damages both to your PTO and to the transmission, okay? Again, all trucks are built a little different in the way they operate, and in many instances, the PTO is an aftermarket part, so they're not even put on by the company at the factory when they're making a Freightliner or Peterbilt or whatever it is. You can buy kits to put them on yourselves afterwards, so they're going to have some quirks to them. So make sure you've taken the time before you're out in the field, so you don't feel rushed, to understand exactly the procedures you need to do to turn the PTO on, use it, and then turn it off, okay? Ask a lot of questions, because there's a lot of ways to do this. There's a lot of ways to do it wrong. And again, once you've damaged your PTO, you've also damaged your transmission, and things just spiral out of control from there. Now we're going to go out and we're actually going to show you some of these in operation as well. Thank you.
Hi, I am Matt Jewett. I am the truck compliance manager and the driver development manager here at Gana Trucking. What we're going to go over right now is we're going to go over the PTO, engaging the PTO, and so that we can get our barrel to dump. When we get ready to dump a load, to dump the barrel, what we want to do is, if you are in drive, go ahead and come to a complete stop. You want to press the brake and then engage the PTO. And then once you have engaged the PTO, you can put it back in neutral. And you can actually see the RPMs start to build. Once you know that your PTO is engaged, what you can do is you can start to roll your barrel. As you're rolling your barrel, looking through your mirrors, make sure everything is good. Once you have dumped your load, bring the barrel back until it reaches the cradle. Once it's in the cradle, shut your PTO off. And your RPMs will go back down to normal. After you have shut your PTO off on these side dumps, your barrel switch, hit that a few times, and what that does is that it takes all the pressure off of the hydraulic lines. Okay, the next thing that we're going to demonstrate is how to dump on the run with the side dump. One of the first things that you want to do is your brakes are set and you have it in neutral. Up here, what you can do is you can switch it to manual, okay? And then to shift up or to shift down, to shift up, you just hit the bar up. To shift down, you just hit it down, like so. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put it in drive. We're going to put our foot on the brake, and then we're going to engage our PTO. Put it back in neutral. As soon as I take my foot off the brake, you will see the RPMs start to build. Once you get to that point, what we want to do is we want to start the dumping process, but we're only going to dump the barrel just enough that as we start to roll, we can start to dump. Anytime that we dump on the run, we never want to exceed second gear. And it will tell you up here what gear we are in. So if we put it in drive, okay, we are in second gear. Release both brakes. Once you put it in drive, you're in manual. You can start to go forward. As you're going forward, you also want to make sure that your barrel is in the correct position. As you pull forward and you're able to dump, go ahead and start the dumping process. Also look in your mirror, look forward, so you know where you're going. Once your load is completely out of the barrel, bring your barrel back into position. PTO off, pressure off, and then back into automatic. So now we are in a straight truck, okay? So basically, but instead of rolling a barrel, we're going to be lifting the box. In order to engage the PTO, it's the same thing as we did in the side dump. Once we get to the position which we are going to be dumping the load, one, you want to make sure that your load has been untarped. On these straight trucks, one thing that I like to do is I like to lower my suspension, which in other words, what it will do is it will drop the back end. It will lower the back end, which will give the truck a little bit more stability. Then go through, put your foot on the brake. You can have it in drive or reverse. Engage your PTO. Put the vehicle back in neutral. As soon as you lift your foot, the RPMs will go up, and then you are able to lift your box up. Now, one thing that's different from the straight truck and the side dump, in order to get your barrel back to its cradle, you have to leave your PTO on. In a straight truck, as soon as your box is up, you can go ahead and shut your PTO off. And then you can still lower your box. After your box is lowered, air up your rear suspension. Now, if you forget to air up your rear suspension, it's not going to take you very long to notice that you forgot to air it back up, because it's going to be extremely rough ride. So before you take off, make sure everything is in the off position and it is safe to continue to go get another load.